Hello, everybody. Hi. It's Friday. Welcome back. I'm going to wait a minute so that people will find me, and then we'll get started. Today, we're going to be talking about yoga philosophy. If you have any yoga philosophy concepts, questions, if you're already sitting here and ready to go, you're more than welcome to throw them over in the comments, and I will read them, and then we can talk through them. Also, if you're here already, let me know where you're watching from. Let me know where you're watching from. Tea. Oh, that's hot. It's not ready to drink yet. I'll just let it sit for a minute. All right. Yeah, let me know where you're watching from. Yeah. All right. Shall we go ahead and get started? I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. Katie's here. Hi, Katie. Watching from DC. Yeah, so you're an hour ahead of me. All right. All right, so let's go ahead and start getting into this. Oh, you know what? Before we start, let me remember to tell you that my 7-day challenge is starting on Monday. So if you haven't already, please register for that. It's going to be fun. I'm excited about it. You can find the registration link on the community page. I posted about it yesterday or the day before, and it's free, and it's 7 days of yoga. It, like I said, starts on Monday, which is the 19th, and classes will be at 7 a.m. Central Time live, and the recordings will also be available. And hi, Jessica from New York. Welcome. So you can sign up for that, and after this live stream is done, I'll remember to put the link for the 7-day challenge also in the description box of this video so you can easily find it. Hello, Bonnie from Utah. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Bonnie Lynn. I think so, Bonnie Lynn. Yeah. Anyway, 7-day challenge, it starts on Monday. It's a good thing. The 7-day challenge, like I've done a few challenges over the years, and the feedback that I get from them is that they're a great way to get started with practicing and to develop a consistent yoga practice. So that's actually kind of my theme or my goal for this 7-day challenge, that you can use it as a way to get on track with your yoga practice, whether you're just starting or whether you've practiced yoga for years, but you are kind of irregular with it. When we do a challenge like this, it provides a little bit of accountability because you know that you're going to log in and that we're going to practice together, you and me, for those 7 days. So yeah, if you're interested in doing that with me, please join. You can register until Sunday. I'm turning off the registration on Sunday evening, so we'll be ready for Monday. Anyway, that's that. Let's go ahead and get into, Bonnie. Okay, Bonnie Lynn, thank you. Thanks for telling me. It helps me a lot to know how to pronounce people's names because it helps me remember you better. So thank you for telling me that. Okay, so today we're talking about yoga philosophy, and this is a topic that I really love. I don't talk about it very much on my channel because mostly people are here to do yoga practice, and so we focus on that. And actually, people are usually pretty surprised to find out that there's more to yoga beyond just the physical practice. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'd like to introduce, actually, I'm going to introduce 3 concepts today. It was going to be 2. Suzanne's here. Hi. I'm going to have to remember the correct pronunciation of your name. It's going to take me a minute. I'll come back. All right. 3 concepts I'm going to share with you today. I had originally planned to do 2, but then another important one popped into my mind. So I'd like to start by telling you about the 8 limbs of yoga. If you have heard of the 8 limbs of yoga, would you write 8 limbs in the comment or write yes or something like that, just so that I kind of get an idea of how many people have heard of this before. Maybe you've heard of it, but you don't really remember the details or you don't really understand it or something like that. First, I'm going to talk about the 8 limbs of yoga. You know, out of those 8 limbs, only one of them is the physical yoga practice. So that gives you an idea that yoga is much, much, much more broad than just the physical practice. Okay, I've got a couple of people who've heard of the 8 limbs of yoga before. You maybe have heard of it from me, or you maybe will have heard of it from somewhere else or from reading a book. The 8 limbs of yoga are these. So the first 2 are yamas and miyamas, and these are ethical principles. They tell us how we should behave, how we should conduct ourselves in our daily lives, like things that we personally do and things that we should do in our interactions with other people. So they're kind of like a philosophy for being a good person. That's what the yamas and the niyamas are. After that, yamas, niyamas. Next we have, hold on, yamas, niyamas, pranayama. Wait. Oh, sorry, I've got them out of order in my brain now. Give me a second. Yamas, niyamas, asanas next. Asana is the physical yoga practice. So asana is the physical yoga practice, like all the things we do in videos or you do in a yoga class. That's the third limb of yoga. After that, we have pranayama, which is, do y'all want me to type the names of these so that you can know what they are? Let me know if you want me to type out the names. Pranayama is breathing practice, and we do some pranayama usually at the end of our asana practice, so you're already somewhat familiar with that. Then after that, we have pratyahara. Pratyahara is complicated. So some of these terms start to become a little bit challenging to understand. So I'm going to take my time with this one. Pratyahara means that we are in control of our senses. Let me elaborate. So you know how maybe you go visit at somebody's house and you walk in the door, and typically when we greet someone, like when we arrive at somebody's house, the proper etiquette is that you greet them and you say hello and thank you for having me or whatever, that kind of thing. But this is what happens. You arrive at the door of your friend's house and they open the door and they say hi, and you smell something terrible coming from inside the house, like they've burnt the dinner or like just something just really bad going on in there, and you can immediately smell it. And so you're distracted by that. And instead of doing the right thing and saying, hello, so-and-so, it's so nice to see you, you say, oh my God, what is that terrible smell? And then you regret it. You immediately regret, God, why did I say that? Why did I do that? Instead of like ignoring the smell for a minute and, greeting my friend properly. That's one example of, it's an example of why we practice pratyahara, why we practice getting in control of our senses. Let me give you a different example. Say you show up to a different friend's house and you are sitting, say you've already arrived and you're like sitting around in the living room and you're, chatting with them, but you keep smelling a delicious smell that's coming from the kitchen. And it's so distracting to you that you keep forgetting what you're talking about in conversation. Like you're like, talking about whatever's going on in both of your lives and, your friend is trying to have an important conversation with you, but you're so distracted by the delicious aroma coming from the kitchen. And your mind is just thinking, gosh, when can we eat? When can we eat? That smells so delicious. And, and you kind of feel bad because you're not 100% paying attention to your friend because you're so distracted by the delicious smell. All right. So 2 examples about our senses and how they distract us from what we intend to be doing in our regular life. Those 2 examples had to do with smell, but we have, 5 senses. And so we can be distracted by all kinds of things. We can be distracted by a beautiful sight or a terrible sight. We can be distracted by something we hear, a baby crying, puppy crying, all kinds of stuff that we hear that can be distracting. So this concept of pratyahara means to start learning how to be in control of your senses so that you act in the way, that's a weird word, act. But anyway, you behave in the way, you conduct yourself in the way that you mean to without getting distracted by your senses. Does it make sense? There's kind of a high level explanation of it. It's one of those things. There's a lot in yoga that is experiential. We start to understand it once we personally experience it. So if it doesn't quite make sense now, like you can't internalize it and like really get it, you can at least know for right now that pratyahara means learning how to become in control of your senses. Okay, I'm going to pause here for just a second. My sense of sight is distracting me by my tea over there. Also, I'm feeling a little bit dry, so the tea helps. All right. So that's what pratyahara is. I may come back to it in a little while. After pratyahara, we have, where were we? Yamas, niyamas, asana, pranayama, pratyahara. So we have 8 limbs. We have 3 things left. These last 3 things kind of go together. They're dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. You probably haven't ever heard of these 2 before, but you maybe would have heard of samadhi before. These 3 things together are basically the path to learning to meditate. So these are internal practices, they're mental practices, and these 2 are also mental practices. But anyway, these 3 are definitely mental practices, the dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. And what these are is they're different degrees of ability to concentrate, or we can say it like that. So in dharana is when we start to learn to focus on something for a moment. Actually, let me rewind for a minute. Let me talk about what meditation is. So in the West, I think we have lots of misperceptions about what meditation is. Sometimes people think meditation is that you're supposed to sit there and make your mind blank. Sometimes people think that meditation is that you're supposed to sit there and reflect on something, like think about a problem you're having and like concentrate on that problem, something like that. Really, meditation is not either of those 2 things. Meditation is learning to focus your mind, learning to focus. So given that kind of introduction, let me come back to the dharana and dhyana and samadhi. So dharana means it's like a very beginning stage of meditation practice. Probably you've already been practicing all these other things, and so you've gotten your mind somewhat under a little bit of control, and now it's capable of sitting down with you. You know, your body sits down, your mind is in there, and it's capable of concentrating. And say you're concentrating on an apple, an image of an apple that's in your mind. And so you sit to do your meditation practice, and you're at the level of dharana, and you say, I can see this apple in my mind. There's an apple, there's an apple, there's an apple. And that's how we begin to work on meditation, by concentrating for one moment. After we become successful at that, then we're able to concentrate on that object of focus for a longer amount of time. That's called dhyana. So it's just being able to concentrate for a longer period of time. So you sit and you visualize your apple, and you're able to stay with that mental image of your apple, and you're kind of observing it with your mind, kind of seeing it with your mind's eye. And you're able to maintain your concentration on this apple for some kind of relatively short period of time. When I say a relatively short period of time, what I mean is that when we start working on these meditative practices, inevitably, this is going to happen to everybody, our minds wander off. They wander off and think about all kinds of things. They can wander off and think about like 30 different things within the span of a minute, because we're thinking, got to go to the grocery store later, we ran out of milk, I need to remember to make the pediatrician appointment, and I need to make the vet appointment as well. I ran out of my prescription, I need to make sure to take care of that. Later today, I need to have this conversation with this person. I had a fight with my mom yesterday. Like, all these things are popping up, and we completely forget about the apple that we're trying to focus on. So this is, why I'm explaining the difference between dharana and dhyana and samadhi, because in that first stage, the dharana stage, we have a ton of distractions. We can concentrate on the apple, and then we think about the doctor appointment, and then we're like, wait a minute, thinking about the apple, oh wait, need to go buy milk. And we have tons of distractions like that. When we are in the dhyana stage of practice, then we're able to concentrate a little bit longer on the apple without getting distracted. Then that last stage, samadhi. Samadhi is when we're completely able to 100% focus on that apple. Nothing else exists in the whole world. It's just that apple and you being aware of the apple for a long period of time. So that's what that is. Yeah, I wish that we were sitting together in a room right now so that we could talk about this together more easily and I could hear your feedback about it. You're certainly welcome to type in the chat and I'll read them and we can talk about it. But somehow it's always richer when we can meet together in person. One day we'll do that. Let me read what Katie has written here. Yes, this makes a lot of sense. I noticed this week in one or two of your videos, you mentioned say, yes, yeah, I'm talking about in your mind, say the word inhale as you're inhaling, and as you're exhaling in your mind, you say the word exhale as a way to keep yourself very present with your practice. And so Katie says, this keeps me focused on what I'm doing or mindful of staying with my practice. Perfect, good. Yes, that's fantastic, Katie. I'm glad that you picked up on that. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. You know, we can work on meditative things in the asana practice. We can work on meditative things in the pranayama practice. Or we can just sit down and we can do a visualization on an apple or the flame of a candle or on anything and practice maintaining our focus. Let me elaborate one more detail here. So when you're working on your meditation practice, if this is something that you're interested in, you can have any object of focus so long as it's something positive. You don't want to meditate on, you know, something that is negative in any kind of way, harmful or hurtful to you or to anybody else. So something that's positive. It could be something that's in your mind, or it could be a real actual thing. Like maybe you have a photograph of, I don't know, like a relative who's very important to you, or your dog, or you know, anything, a palm tree. It could be an image of something. It could be an actual something. You could put an apple there if that helps you to concentrate. You can do whatever you need to do, whatever works best for you to help you sit and work on your meditation practice. Jess says, thank you so much for all of this information. I struggle with anxiety and have been told to do meditation and breathing exercises. Good. I'm glad this is helpful for you. Yeah, so many people are dealing with anxiety. I feel like maybe since the pandemic has happened and everyone's been at home, you know, with all extra stressors, it seems like even more people are dealing with anxiety. So I hear about this from a whole lot of people in my Zoom classes, you know, in the comments here, in my online group, which I host on Patreon. Lots of people are talking about anxiety. Let me pause here actually to talk about this a little bit, because there are some kind of key things that we can do in the yoga practice to help us with our anxiety. Certainly, yoga will help with anxiety. But the thing is that every single person is different. And so you have to find the right practices for you. And it's a little bit tricky in this kind of an environment. Like, you know, on my channel, I create videos and I put them there. And I don't know exactly who's watching them. Like, you know, let's say on any given day, 100 people watch one of my videos. One person may have a back problem. One person may have a problem with their knee. One person may have weak wrists. Another person may have had a spinal fusion, or, you know, all different kind of stuff. Then there's also the mental health stuff. Some people may have depression. Some people may have anxiety, different types of anxiety. So, you know, I've put the video out there for everyone to kind of digest and work with in their own way. But since we're speaking specifically about anxiety here, let me give you a little bit of context, information, tips for how to make the yoga practice work best for you. So the first thing is, of course, pick a practice that is comfortable for your body, something that you can do start to finish without having to do, you know, make too many stops or interruptions. Please get comfortable with making modifications so that even if I'm doing, for example, forward fold, and if your body doesn't like doing forward fold, you have in mind something that you can substitute so that you can keep moving. So yeah, try to practice for the whole duration of the practice. Give me a second. Okay, next, try to work on staying present in the practice and not letting your mind wander off. And it takes effort. Like, we have to consciously do this. We have to say, For example, like I've been cueing recently, while you're inhaling, in your mind say, inhale, exhale. That way you are strengthening that connection between your body and your mind, and you're training your mind. This is very powerful. You're training your mind to do what you want it to do and not just letting it do whatever it wants to do. So this makes a connection back to what we were previously talking about, pratyahara, being in control of your senses. In some regard, we can even consider the mind to be a sense. So, we have our regular 5 senses, but the mind is also kind of like a sense because it can get attracted by different things. It can, like it works together with your eyes, for example. Say you're someone who's really into cars. Here's something. I'm having too many ideas today. Hold on a second. Let me get in control of my mind. And I can have one thought at a time. But anyway, your mind also can be a distraction to your mind, if that makes sense. So what we're talking about here is with the yoga practice and trying to keep your mind present in your practice. If you find that your mind is wandering off to something you need to do later today, something that's going to happen next month, whatever, your mind is taking off. Your mind really wants your mind to be here. Your mind doesn't want your mind to wander off. So find that other bit of aspect of your mind and make it notice. Say, hey, that part has wandered off, and call it back. Say, hey, bring your attention back over here. We're trying to do the yoga practice right now. And I'll throw another one of my favorite things at you. What we practice becomes our habit. So the more we practice getting our mind to be here, present for the practice, the better we're going to get at that. In other words, if we keep allowing the mind to wander off and keep allowing it to just like run off and be wild, and we don't control it, we're practicing that, allowing it to be wild. And then guess what? We get really skilled at letting the mind wander off. So whenever you remember, make an effort to ask your mind to be under your control, present with what you want to be doing rather than letting it run off. Okay, this is really interesting. I think this stuff is really interesting too. I love it. I love this stuff. Okay, I've spent 24 minutes talking about the 8 limbs of yoga, and I forgot I have 2 other topics. So let me move on to the next one. Let me check. Okay. Ooh, this can be another topic all by itself on another day. Let me stop and think here for a minute. I don't want to stay here too long because too much philosophy gets really heavy and a little bit exhausting. So let's do this. Why don't we stop here on the 8 limbs of yoga and just spend a little more time. If you have any questions or any observations, let's talk about this. And then next week's session, I'll talk to you about the other concepts that I have in mind, and that's about chitta vrittis, fluctuations of the mind. And I'll also talk to you about vairagya, which means non-attachment. So I'm going to save those for next time. Let me know if you have any questions about what we've talked about so far today. Okay, let's see. In some of your videos, you talk about ahimsa. Where does that belong? Great question. Ahimsa, it's one of the yamas or niyamas. I can't remember where it belongs. Ahimsa means, as you probably know, because I talk about it all the time, it means non-harm. Sorry, I answered that very quickly. Let me slow down. We talked about the 8 limbs of yoga. The first 2 were the yamas and the niyamas, the concepts about how we should behave and interact with people in our day-to-day life. One of those is ahimsa, non-harm. So in the context of the yoga practice, what it means is that the yoga practice should be comfortable for you. In all senses of the word comfortable. It should not be painful for you. It should not be an incorrect practice for you. It should not feel like a chore. It should feel like something somewhat enjoyable that you want to come back to on a regular basis. There's a lot of, the people who come see me for private instruction do that because they need a customized kind of practice that is enjoyable to them, not painful to them, and that gives them the motivation and, motivation and enthusiasm to continue with their yoga practice. That's one, one type of yoga practitioner. Some people, lots of people are perfectly happy practicing with my videos. It's comfortable for you. You figured out how to modify. It's not painful for you. And so some people are perfectly happy practicing with my YouTube videos. Some people, get the most ahimsa type of practice by practicing with me live in my Zoom classes or, with me and my team. So ahimsa can be applied in a lot of different ways. So that's just the yoga type of versions of ahimsa. But we also have ahimsa off the mat, like in our real lives. I'll give you an example. This morning, I have to rewind to last night. I'm doing my classes from India right now, but they're on Zoom, and for me, they're in the middle of the night, so I watch them as recordings. But inevitably, because I'm a mom and I work, I teach yoga, and I'm busy with my kids and my work, I somehow end up pushing my instruction classes to the last priority. Late at night is when I watch them. Last night, I stayed up too late, and because I needed to watch my class before the deadline. So I watched my class late until the night. I finished it around 1 o'clock in the morning. This morning, I slept more than I normally do, which is not good. Like, there's all kinds of reasons where you should have a correct sleep schedule. You should wake up in the morning. Like, if you listen to my talk on ahimsa, on Ayurveda, in my online community on Patreon, over the weekend, I taught all about, actually, was it Friday? Saturday. Talked all about the importance of correct sleep. Okay, fine. I made a mistake. I slept incorrectly, but this morning, I had to practice ahimsa. I couldn't wake up at my usual hour and get going with my day, because I needed to be kind with myself. I needed to practice ahimsa with myself and make sure that I slept enough so that I could do the activities that I need to do during the day. So there's one example of ahimsa in your regular life. If you need sleep, you need to sleep. If you're hungry, you need to eat. If you have a toxic relationship with someone, you need to do kindness to yourself, remove yourself from the toxic situation. So this is how, just a few examples of how ahimsa manifests in real life outside of your yoga practice. Yeah. Okay, I really like the concept of ahimsa because it helps me listen to my body. Yes, that's such a good point. And I talk about this too, that we have a concept in our modern lives, this concept of no pain, no gain. And so we feel that we need to push and push and push ourselves and be as productive as possible and be the best at everything and stretch the farthest and be the strongest and do the most and be the best parent and, all the things. It's too much. We can't do all of that. We can't. And I say this slowly to you, but really I'm saying it to myself too. We can't do everything. We have to give ourselves some grace. We have to practice ahimsa, not only with other people, but also with ourselves, so that we can take good care of ourselves and, have a calm mind, be peaceful, enjoy life. There's a lot of reasons to practice ahimsa in all the areas of your life. I encourage you to do that. I encourage you to do it, especially, like, I really try to emphasize it because I know not too many people talk about this, but many, many people need to hear it, that we need to be kind with ourselves. All right, let's see. Any other questions or perceptions or ideas related to this, what we've talked about today, the 8 limbs of yoga? I'm going to just type them in here in the comments for you, so you have them in case you want them. We have Yama, Miyama, asana, Pranayama, dhyana, dharana, dhyana, dhyana, samadhi. There you go. Here are the 8 limbs. Oh, all right. Well, if there aren't more questions, we can wrap it up for today. Stay tuned. Next week, we're going to talk about vairagya, which means non-attachment. And we're also going to talk about chittavrittis. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a preview. So in the Yoga Sutras, which is a very important yoga text, Patanjali teaches us in the Sutra 1.2, so this is the first chapter, the second verse. He teaches us that yoga chitta vritti nirodha. So what that means is yoga is the practice of learning to control disturbances in your mind. That's one translation of it. There's subtle different ways that you can translate, but it's learning how to control the disturbances or fluctuations in your mind. And we're going to talk about that one next week in the live stream on Friday at the same time. Let's see. Me Forward says, thank you. We need more of this. We need to be kind to ourselves. It's the foundation of our ability to be empathetic and show kindness to others. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I need some of that myself today. Thank you. Yes, and E. German says, thank you. Saying hello from Washington State. Ah, good, very good. You're on the West Coast. Very good. All right, well, thank you everybody for being here and spending some time with me today. Don't forget, if you haven't already, sign up for the 7-day challenge. It starts on Monday. You can find the link on the community tab of my channel, and in a minute here, when I click the end stream button, I will just really quickly go and put the link for the 7-day challenge sign up in the description box below this video. You have to sign up for it. In the past, I've done these live as live streams on YouTube, but now I'm doing it via Zoom so that we can have a little bit of a closer communication, and I can see you if you choose to turn your camera on. So you have to sign up to participate in this one. All right, let's see what else. Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you, Jess. You too. Okay, very good. Signed up for the challenge. Fantastic. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody, and I hope to see you on Monday. All right. Bye.